Hello everyone, welcome back to the session. Let us understand some more basic terms of chemistry. Did you have did you ever heard the word called amphiprotic? And is it same as amphoteric or different? Let's understand. So in this video, we will learn some new terms. One is amphiprotic. We will see whether it is same as that of amphoteric or not. And we should also understand some more technical words like allotropy, alloy, etc. Let's see. First, let's start with allotropy. So what is allotropy? It is the existence of an element in more than one physical form, isn't it? It is the existence of an element in more than one physical form. Means there will be change in their physical form. Remaining chemical properties almost it will be similar. So this allotropy is the existence of an element in two or more forms. And these forms may differ. So these forms, they will be differing either in the arrangement of atoms in the crystalline solid, or they may also differ in the occurrence of molecules that contain different number of atoms. Even though the technical words looking little bit difficult, but it is very easy. You know all the examples. Let me explain. Here, the same element exists in more than one form. So it is two or more forms. I will give examples of all types. And these allotropic forms, they differ in the arrangement of the atoms in the crystalline solid, or they differ in the occurrence of the molecules that contain different number of atoms. Now, let us understand this by taking carbon as the example. So we know that carbon basically exists in two different forms. One, the crystalline form, and the second one, amorphous form. And the various crystalline forms are: one is diamond, second one is graphite, and the third one fullerenes. Here we come across C60, C70, etc. And we will be learning the detailed structure of all these diamond, graphite, fullerene in class 11th. So here the arrangement of the atoms in this solid is different in diamond, and it is different in fullerene as well as in the graphite. So these three forms, they are differing in the arrangement of atoms. Again, when you come to the amorphous forms, the various forms of the carbon are coal. We are now talking about the amorphous forms: coke, charcoal, and again in charcoal we have two different types. One is wood charcoal and second one is animal charcoal, or we also call this one as the bone charcoal. Do you know the use of this charcoal? Charcoal is very important in sugar industry, and this is used for decolorization of the sugar solution. We know that we will be getting white or colorless sugar, but the original sugarcane juice is yellowish in color, isn't it? So during the process, they will be treating with several chemicals, and the color will be changing into different forms, but finally because of various impurities present in it, it will be having a specific color. So to remove all those impurities, they'll be using wood charcoal and animal charcoal, and preferably animal charcoal is a better decolorization agent when compared to the wood charcoal. And the other forms are, after this charcoal we have lamp black as well as the carbon black. Let us take oxygen now. Here oxygen exists in two different forms. One is the molecular oxygen, which you simply call it as oxygen O2, and the second one is nothing but the ozone. So see here the previous definition, to recollect the definition where I said that the allotropic forms differ in the arrangement of atoms in the solid structure, or differ in the occurrence of molecules that contain different number of atoms. In the molecular form of oxygen, there are 2 oxygen atoms. In the ozone molecule, there are 3 oxygen atoms. So the number of atoms in the molecule are different in the case of oxygen. Now when we take the case of phosphorus as the example, this phosphorus exists in several forms. Out of these, 3 are more important. One is white phosphorus, second one is red phosphorus, then black phosphorus. And of course we also have scarlet phosphorus. In some books we come across yellow phosphorus as a separate allotropic form, and sometimes white or yellow is almost same. So these are the various allotropic forms. Again, they are having the same molecular formula for the case of phosphorus, but the arrangement of atoms in the solid structure is different. So that is about this particular term allotropy. Now let us understand another basic term, which is nothing but alloy. So what is an alloy? An alloy is homogeneous mixture. An alloy is an homogeneous mixture of 2 or more metals. And remember one thing, it need not to be metals always. It can be one metal and one non-metal, and it can be 2 or more metals as well as a non-metal also. We can have different combinations in this alloy. It depends upon what we require as the final product. Now here we got another new word called as homogeneous. Let's understand this. Homogeneous is nothing but a uniform mixture. So it is uniform throughout. For example, if we take the case of brass. Brass is an alloy of copper and zinc. Now, copper is having certain characteristics and zinc is also having certain characteristics. Now, whenever we are taking both of them in certain proportions and melting together, we will get the final product alloy, that is brass, and in that one, the composition is uniform throughout. If you take, for example, X percentage of copper and Y percentage of zinc, and that percentage will be maintained throughout the entire alloy of brass. So that's what we are calling it as a uniform. That uniform word we use in chemistry as homogeneous. So we will not use the word called uniform, we use the term homogeneous. So homogeneous mixture of 2 or more metals, or a metal and a non-metal, or some metals along with a non-metal, that is called as an alloy. So already we had covered one example, brass. Let us discuss some more examples. Some more examples. One of them is bronze. I am giving only the important examples here. It is a mixture of copper and tin. When we take the case of German silver is an alloy of copper, zinc and nickel. And this particular example is given in some of the entrance examinations in this way, that is the percentage of silver, the percentage of silver present in German silver. See, it is misleading here. Whenever we listen to this word or read this word silver, we will be thinking in terms of silver, that some percentage of silver will be there in this particular alloy. But as we know that it's a mixture of copper, zinc and nickel, the percentage of silver in this German silver is a big zero, isn't it? The percentage of silver in German silver is zero because it's an alloy of copper, zinc and nickel. Let's go for another example. And another alloy is gunmetal. Now you can easily predict what will be the use of this gunmetal. Definitely it is for making guns. So it's not simply made up of steel or made up of iron. So this gunmetal is an alloy. Gunmetal is an alloy which contains copper, tin, zinc as well as lead. So it's a combination of all these four metals in proper or specific proportion: copper, tin, zinc and lead. And another very famous alloy is bell metal. And where do we come across this one? Definitely it is nothing but used in manufacturing of bells which are there in the temples and other places. And this bell metal is also a combination of copper and tin. And remember one thing, in majority of the examples we come across copper. So in almost all the alloys, copper will be one of the component. It's not compulsory, it's one of the component. And there are several other alloys also where copper is not a component. For example, if we take the case of magnesium, so the name itself is giving you the hint of the two elements present here. One is magnesium and second one is nothing but aluminium, isn't it? Then you might have again heard this word called as solder. This is a mixture of lead as well as tin. And now comes the one of the famous example which we are using in day-to-day life, that is stainless steel. Isn't it? It is not famous. It is present everywhere in our house, isn't it? Now, if you hear this word steel, steel is nothing but a mixture of iron and carbon. Depending upon the percentage of carbon, the nature of the steel will change. Means its properties will change, like hardness will change and its strength will change. So depending upon the requirement, they will be changing the percentage of carbon. If it is stainless steel, it is made up of iron, chromium, nickel, and of course in steel there should be some percentage of carbon. So stainless steel is a mixture of iron, chromium, nickel and carbon. And there are other forms of steel also, where if we add manganese, we call it as manganese steel. If we add nickel, that is nickel steel and chrome steel. These are the four main varieties of steel, that is stainless steel, manganese steel, nickel steel and chrome steel. And there are other combinations where we can even add aluminium, titanium, etc. Here, depending upon the requirement, we add different metals, because by changing the combination, we'll be changing some of the properties, like hardness will change. Then by adding some specific metals, its corrosion resistance property will change, its strength will also change, its ductility property will also change. Now let's understand the very important point, and this is a very important technical word in chemistry, that is amphoteric. First let me explain amphoteric, then we shall go for amphiprotic. So you know the meaning of what is an acid or acidic oxide, and you already know the meaning of base or basic oxide. We already covered this in the first video. Now, any substance which is having both acidic property as well as basic property, that is called as amphoteric. Means it is reacting with acid as well as base. And one of the best example for this amphoteric oxide is Al2O3. If you take Al2O3, when that is reacting with hydrochloric acid, that results in formation of AlCl3 and water. And we know that this is acid. When this is acid, definitely this should be acting as a base, isn't it? Now, the same Al2O3 is also react with sodium hydroxide. So when it is sodium hydroxide, it means base, and this Al2O3 here, it is acting as an acid. And this results in formation of NaAlO2 and water, and this is called as sodium meta-aluminate. What is NaAlO2? This is sodium meta-aluminate. So depending upon the concentration of sodium hydroxide, we may get also sodium aluminate. So this is one of the example. And other examples of amphoteric oxides are beryllium oxide, zinc oxide, PbO, lead monoxide, same way tin monoxide, SNO. This is gallium, Ga2O3, then arsenic oxide, As2O3, and antimony oxide, Sb2O3, and so on. There are several examples across the periodic table where they behave both like an acid as well as the base. And the word amphoteric is completely different from amphiprotic. But again, we come across the same word here, amphi. Amphi means both. So what is that both here? Here, amphiprotic means this is a substance that can donate as well as accept a proton. So here protic matlab it is involvement of proton. Amphi means it can donate a proton and it can also accept a proton. For example, if you take simply hydrochloric acid, this is not amphiprotic. First listen to me. This is hydrochloric acid which can donate H plus ion. It can donate H plus ion. So the one which can give H plus ion, we can call it as protogenic. Protogenic means synthesis. It is giving out H plus ion. The one which is giving out H plus ion, we call it as protogenic. If you take for example CH3COO minus, this CH3COO minus, it can accept H plus ion and that can be converted into acetic acid. So it is accepting proton. So we call this one as protophilic. Philic means attraction or affinity. What is philic? Philic means affinity and genic means synthesis or giving out. So the one which is giving out protons, that is protogenic, and the one which is taking proton inside, which is taking proton, that is called as the protophilic. Then what will be amphiprotic? It's a combination of these two. Means it can donate a proton and it can also accept a proton. For example, take the case of water. Water is neutral and that is amphiprotic. If water is losing a proton, I am writing it as minus H plus. After losing H plus, it is converted into OH minus, isn't it? And the same water, it can accept one H plus and that can be converted into H3O plus. And what is this H3O plus? H3O plus is called as the hydronium ion. H3O plus is called as the hydronium ion. And another very important example we come across, especially in biology, that is amino acids. That will be also an example of amphiprotic. Here we come across two terms, amine and acid. So these are the chemical substances which contain both amine group, and amine group is NH2 group, as well as the acid group, and acid group is nothing but the COOH group. So I will write in general like this, RCHCOOH, and यहाँ पे I will write NH2 group, and this is called as the amino acid in general. So amino acid should contain both acid group as well as amine group. So here this COOH group, it will be having a tendency to lose proton, and this NH2 group is having a tendency to accept proton. So what happens after losing that proton? It becomes COO minus, and if that proton is taken by this NH2 and this is converted into NH3 plus, isn't it? And listen here, this is a very important term. We get it even for our board exam. This dipolar ion, what's the meaning of dipolar? Dipolar means here we are having two poles. Two poles means positive pole, this one, and negative pole. So the dipolar ion which is formed in this particular way, this is called as Zwitter ion. So what is Zwitter ion? Zwitter ion is nothing but the dipolar ion. So whenever the same molecule contain both acidic group as well as basic group, so it will be existing as a dipolar ion, and that is called as the Zwitter ion. And where do you come across the amino acids? They are nothing but in the proteins, because proteins on hydrolysis gives rise to alpha amino acids. Proteins on hydrolysis gives rise to alpha amino acids. So proteins are building blocks, alpha amino acids are building blocks of proteins, and this amino acid contain both acidic group and basic group. So the acid group can donate a proton and the basic group can accept a proton. So that is the reason why they also come under the example of amphiprotic. Is it clear? Protophilic means, philic means affinity, so bringing in H plus. Protogenic, genic means synthesis, giving out H plus, and amphiprotic having both the character. So that is about some of the technical words for this particular session. We had covered allotropy, we covered alloy, and we covered amphoteric as well as amphiprotic. In this amphiprotic, we also covered about the amino acid as well as the Zwitter ion, which is a very important term. So in these, the two main important terms are amphoteric as well as Zwitter ion. If you analyze all the previous entrance exam questions, you can definitely find several times the question related to which of the following is amphoteric oxide, which of the following exists as Zwitter ion. These two are the very important technical words in this particular video. Thank you. Let us understand some more words in the next video.